This is always the part. Let me get this going here. Hold on one second. Oh, it's hard to see, you guys. Hold on a second. I got to move some things around so I can see. Okay, I hope everybody sees my screen. There's a light blue screen up there. Why diets fail, the key to weight loss. You guys see it? Okay. All right. Well, I am Laura Sapienza. I know I've met a lot of you guys, and it's so great to hear all those introductions. I'm just amazed at the variety of women we have in this group and the work that everyone's doing. It's very inspiring to meet you guys and get to know you all. But you're at Why Diets Fail, the Key to Weight Loss. And Calm and Confident Weight Loss is actually the name of my 12-week coaching program. So when you see Calm and Confident Weight Loss, that's what that is. And gosh, I can't see part of my screen. Hold on a second. Anyway, I'll just introduce myself a little bit more. I am a holistic nutritionist and a national board certified health and wellness coach. And by the way, this webinar, I usually do all this in an hour. So I'm going to be talking fast and kind of condensing a few things as I go to make it more appropriate for our time frame. And I think I've got, let me look at the time. So 25 minutes or so usually for these, 25, 30 at the most. Okay. Anyway, I help people lose weight by shifting out of overeating patterns and by learning how to satisfy hunger and eliminate cravings. That's the food work that I do with people. And I mostly work with women 50 and up, 40s and up. Just, you know, I'll work with anyone, but I would say that is most of my clientele. But this is the food piece of it, really working on cravings, working on shifting out of overeating patterns, and then also learning how to eat so that our hunger is satisfied and that cravings can be tamed or even gone. I have two other parts that I do in my program, two other pillars, I call them, and that would be physical activity and then also taking a look at people's joy in their life and kind of their values. Are they living according to their values? Because when you start to work on that, sometimes overeating starts to go away. And that's a big connection for people to have to work on and make. But just to explain, you know, what I do with people, I do have 4 pillars. 2 are based on food. 1 is physical activity, and the other is joyful living and purposeful living. My belief for weight loss, my belief is that we should be able to lose weight through practicing self-care, not through self-deprivation. It's really about self-care. And I have pictures of food up here because I think food should be celebrated. I think food is a God-given nourishment and pleasure for us on this earth. And actually, a lot of people who need to lose weight, I think they need food to be more front and center in their life, not less. They need to embrace nutrition, embrace healthy eating, enjoy eating, maybe cook more, you know, those types of things. So I celebrate food with my clients, and I think we should enjoy eating and not be afraid of eating. And it's not about deprivation. Okay, and I'm going to present this as if you might be someone interested in weight loss, but I know you may not be at all. But I'll present this to you so you can learn more about me and how I operate, what my philosophies are. Okay, so imagine looking forward to what you'll eat today. Imagine ending your day feeling nourished, satisfied, proud of yourself, enjoying getting dressed, feeling calm and confident at parties, feeling lighter and more energetic. And yes, and I would say a little happier. No, I don't think weight loss is the key to happiness, but boy, it does feel good to get pounds off our body that don't feel good. And I always tell my clients that, you know, your future is based on your future, not your past. And we tend to look to our past thinking it determines our future, but really it's about infinite possibilities moving forward. And that's what's so fun in coaching. It's always forward motion with infinite possibilities. Change is always possible. That's why I love coaching, because we all really do change. Okay. So what you're going to learn in this talk is, and I'm down at the bottom here, but why it's not your fault that diets fail in the long run. Most diets fail in the long run. They work in the short term. They don't last forever, most of them. I'm also going to talk about what the main thing is to focus on for weight loss. I do believe there's a main thing for most people, so I'm going to talk about that. And then I'll teach you a real usable strategy to kind of help you get started if you are someone who needs this type of work. So I'll teach you a tool. And I do want to say, when I say the word diets, why diets fail us, I'm talking about super low calorie, strict regimented diets that get rid of whole food groups, people who won't eat a carbohydrate anymore, which is not good for us. Super strict meal plans without flexibility. That's what I'm talking about when I say diets, because a lot of people have been on diets like that. And they cause problems. For most people, they cause problems, and people tend to gain weight after the diet is over. So just a couple stats real quick. For the first time in human history, obesity is a bigger health crisis than hunger. And I don't know if a lot of people know that, but globally around the world, obesity is causing more health crisis and disease than hunger is. 70% of Americans are overweight, 20% of American children are overweight, and half of Americans have at least one preventable chronic illness that is due to our lifestyle. So the good news there is that, we have a lot of power and authority to change our lifestyle, to change what we're eating, to change our activity, to change our stress levels. There's a lot we can do to change these statistics. So I just wanted to show you that real quickly. So why are so many Americans, Americans definitely, we have a weight problem. What is going on? And there's a perfect storm of a few things going on. It is a convergence of a few factors, some cultural issues, along with our biology. So I'm going to explain that right now, why so many Americans so easily are gaining weight, have gained weight. So it's culture and biology coming together. So the first part of the perfect storm is processed food. Here's 3 examples of processed food, processed white flour bun, maybe a fake cheese sauce, French fries cooked in horrible oils for us with too much sugar in the ketchup. And then the donuts, that's probably hardly even food, like lots of fake colors, lots of sugar, trans fats. So, you may not be eating this way, but the standard American diet, Americans are eating about 50 to 60% of their diet is processed foods, which would also include things like a lot of chips and crackers and things like that too. But the reason these are making people gain weight is they are addictive, and food companies hire food scientists. The processed food world, they hire food scientists who have figured out the perfect crunch factor, the perfect salt to fat ratio, the perfect amount of sugar so that our brain will get the maximum dopamine hit when we eat these things. So honestly, these foods are addictive, and they're designed to be addictive. So we really have to understand that the more we can move away from processed foods and towards whole foods, the better we're going to be. I don't tend to demonize foods. I will occasionally have some French fries and occasionally have a donut. So I want to say that, but this cannot be the majority of our eating. The more we eat like this, fiber, which is so important for our ability to feel satisfied when we eat, has been stripped out of processed foods. And then when we eat like this, our hunger hormones are thrown out of balance. So ghrelin and leptin are 2 hormones that tell us when we're hungry and when we're full, and they get really out of whack when we eat a lot of processed foods. And processed foods also jack up our insulin, which is another hormone, And the higher our insulin is, the more our body will lay down fat. So insulin is a necessary hormone. It's wonderful. But when it's constantly elevated by eating foods like this, our body will lay down fat much easier. So processed foods are a huge problem, part of the perfect storm causing weight gain. Then we have normalized large serving sizes. You know, America's big on big serving sizes. We know this. You know, pancakes, 8 or 9 pancakes on a plate with all that extra stuff there is probably too much food, but we've gotten used to big serving sizes. In America, we'll even see this type of plate, you know, tons of French fries and 2 small sandwiches and sugar in the ketchup. And I mean, this is probably enough for 2 people. And often we'll see a plate like that in America. So you might be getting hungry. I have a lot of pictures of food here. So normalized large serving sizes is part of the problem. Another part of the perfect storm that's causing so much weight gain in America is diet confusion. We are kind of a diet obsessed culture and yet so overweight. And the reason is these diets, they cause confusion. They tend to be too hard to do for life and people give up. So a lot of these diets are restrictive, unrealistic. They leave common sense. People do them for a while and give up. So really giving up on learning how to eat well is part of the perfect storm in our country and around the world. I will say each of these has some qualities. I don't think they're all horrible. Like calorie counting, I don't think we have to count every calorie we eat for the rest of our life to lose weight. I really don't. But calorie awareness is a great thing. You know, if my favorite dinner at Tuscany Tavern in Evergreen with bread, with wine, and a shared dessert is probably over 2,000 calories, that's good for me to know, right? So each of these has some redeeming qualities, but the more people diet, the more they move away from learning how to eat for the rest of their life. So it's part of the problem. Okay, so here we have this lady. And for the first thing I want to say is I have zero zip judgment on this person. I have been this person. I know what it's like to be that ravenous and that hungry and have the wrong foods in front of me and eat like that. And, you know, I understand it. In fact, I was very sugar addicted in the 90s. So I had to work through all that. And that's part of the reason I do what I do now. But she is a victim of the perfect storm. She probably let herself get too hungry. And then, you know, all the processed food that's just major dopamine hit, you know, tastes so good, hard to stop eating, food abundance, sugar, salt, fat, lighting her brain up. And if she was hungry, you know, when we're hungry, we're pretty much going to eat what's in front of us. So one thing I work on with my clients on the nutrition side is balancing our blood sugar so we don't get that hungry. But let's say she let herself get too hungry. All this food is there. Then here's the other part of the perfect storm I haven't mentioned. It's our biology. It's our brain. Our primal brain wants us to eat high calorie foods, calorically dense foods. Our primal brain's job is to keep us alive. It likes it when we eat stuff like this. But the thing is, we don't need to eat like this, and we have food abundance. Most of us do. So we don't need these high calorically dense foods, but the primal brain wants us to eat that way. So that's the perfect storm. The cultural factors, processed food, food abundance, dieting confusion, and the primal brain wanting us to eat these types of calories. So she thinks willpower or lack of willpower is her problem. It's really a skill power problem. She needs to learn skills about how to eat, how to balance her blood sugar, how to undo emotional eating, how to change her habits, etc. So let's talk about a little bit more about what causes the weight gain. I would say for almost everybody, it is about the food. I believe it. I've worked in weight loss for years, 10 years in adult wellness years ago, and the last 4 years coaching people one-on-one. It's mostly about the food for most people. Now, if you have someone who's 10 pounds overweight and she eats beautifully, but she's inactive, then she could probably just start exercising and that would just take the weight off. But for most people, it's about the food. There's two types of over desire or overeating. One is the emotional over desire for food, which I'm going to continue to talk more about here today. And the other is the physical over desire for food, which is the nutrition piece I do, where we need to learn to feed our bodies, satisfy our hunger, balance our blood sugar, etc. But those are the two. It is about the food is really what that slide says. So emotional eating. Let's talk about the emotional aspect of overeating. What is emotional eating? So in its simplest terms, emotional eating is anytime you eat when you're not hungry, when you're not physically hungry. Now, all of us are emotional eaters sometimes, all of us. I mean, everybody eats for emotional reasons at certain points in time. One example might be you walk in the door, you're stressed out, had a hard day, you pour a glass of wine right away, or you go for something sweet because you want that dopamine hit, you want a little pleasure. That's one we all know. Another example of emotional eating, just to sort of broaden your view of it, a little different, might be you go to your grandmother's house and she spent all afternoon making your favorite ooey gooey cake from childhood, and you really aren't eating that way anymore. You don't even want it. And you look her right in the eye and you say, oh, thank you, wonderful, and have a piece with her, right? Because you want to make her happy. You want a bond. Now, you don't have to make that choice, and I coach people through those situations as well, but that would be an example of emotional eating. So I'm not saying it's good or bad. There are times we're going to do it. You have a piece of birthday cake to celebrate. You weren't even that hungry. You just wanted it. That's emotional eating. The issue is, when is it problematic? When is it putting pounds in our body? When is it something we're doing so often that we're gaining weight, feeling anxious about it, feeling uncomfortable in our body, feeling low energy, maybe having some health problems because of it? So if we're to that level, then we really need to address emotional eating. Okay, are you an emotional eater? Just a couple of these I could do. Do you overeat when you're stressed, lonely, bored, tired, or maybe excited, amped up, celebratory eating? Do you find yourself staring in the fridge and not sure why? I'll bet you every single woman on this call today has done that. I mean, I certainly have done that. Do you crave specific foods? Do you feel kind of guilty after you ate? These can be signs that you have some emotional eating going on. Another example I'm going to add that I think is common is an example of emotional eating would be some habitual things, like if every night you and your husband make buttered popcorn after dinner, watch Netflix, wind down, snuggle, wonderful, it's your thing, it's how you relax, but you might not even be hungry, you just had dinner. But buttered popcorn is part of that emotional, bonding, relaxing evening. It can be really nice, right? But is it adding pounds? Is it making us low energy, sick, etc.? So that would just be another example of emotional eating. Now, I want to show you the emotional eating cycle. We're trying to move out of the emotional eating cycle and into mindful eating cycles, which I'll show you next. Emotional eating starts with a stress or a trigger. Like you walked in the door from a hard day at work and you go right for some sugar or something because you're stressed. So let me go through the cycle. There's a stress or a trigger, like the hard day at work. You decide to eat. Usually you eat too much or eat something that's super sugary and you don't feel good after. But then you feel relief. At the bottom here, you do feel relief. Emotional eating, when we do it, there's a reason. There's a benefit you're getting. You feel a bit of relief. It's short-lived, and we know emotional eating causes problems and tends to be not worth it, but there is some relief felt. But then usually people feel too full, then the out of control feelings come in, that creates more stress, more triggers, and you can get in a very negative loop here. Here's mindful eating, which is the goal. you start up at the top with true physical hunger. You actually feel hungry. It's been a few hours since you've eaten. Tummy's grumbling a little bit. You need food. You make a decision to eat. You eat enough. Hopefully you made a great choice, something healthy and wonderful, and you liked it and you ate enough. You feel satisfied. If you go back to the emotional eating cycle, people feel relief after they eat. In a mindful eating cycle, they feel satisfied. Those are different feelings. You satisfied your hunger, and then hopefully you'll feel a bit energized. You know, when we overeat, we tend to feel low energy. Or when we eat a lot of sugar, we tend to feel yucky after. But you'll feel energized after a mindful eating meal or snack. Later, some twinges of hunger. Later, some true physical hunger. Decide to eat. This is the goal, mindful eating. And I do a lot of work on this cycle with my clients. Let's see, there was something I wanted to add there, but can't think what it was. Basically, all of this is getting you more into your awareness, where you're intentionally choosing to eat and getting yourself off of autopilot, okay? Getting away from the emotional cycle of eating, getting more towards intentional, mindful eating, where you're very aware and tuned into your body. But it takes work to get into the cycle and repeat it over and over and over. Okay, so why do diets fail? Again, when I say diets, I'm talking about the strict, regimented, low-calorie, difficult meal plans, those types of things. Just real quick, there's so much research out there that show that diets work in the short term, not the long term. Up to 2/3 of people will regain all their weight plus more after dieting. A study of 15,000 children aged 9 to 14 who dieted became prone to binge eating. That's a sad statistic, and there's a lot of that happening. The Biggest Loser contestants, if you ever watch that show, they went on these super low-calorie diets. It was just awful. And tons of exercise. They lost weight rapidly, tons of weight. But research shows that most of these people regain all their weight plus extra later. And then further research on their bodies showed major metabolic drops after those types of diets. Okay, so what is going on exactly? Why diets fail us? Deprivation actually triggers cravings and desire to eat. So if we're going to deprive ourselves of food or certain food groups, the brain tends to want us to go there and go have it. So again, I don't think we should lose weight through deprivation. It's really about beautiful, healthy eating, more whole foods, and self-care. So deprivation causes problems with our cravings. Our hunger hormones are very affected after dieting. Ghrelin, which tells us we're hungry, tends to go up when we've dieted a lot. We don't want that. We want ghrelin to be stabilized. Dieting harms the relationship with your innate hunger and fullness signals. The more we diet, the less we trust. When am I hungry? When am I full? Dieting moves us away with a healthy relationship with our body. Metabolism tends to drop after dieting. Diets create stress, and we now know that cortisol, one of the stress hormones, can actually signal to the body to lay down fat. So diets are stressful. We need a less stressful environment for healthy weight loss. Diets are willpower based. They expect us to be robotic, follow this plan, count these calories. And they don't really teach skills around eating. Skills of how to go to parties and handle the food, skills of how to order at restaurants, skills of how to cook healthy foods. They don't teach skills. Dieting tends to be isolating. You know, there's not a lot of support. Some diets offer some group support, but a lot of people are going it alone and very isolated. And then dieting is really missing two of the critical elements. Dieting or diets don't teach us how to undo the emotional eating, which I'm focusing on here a bit. And also diets are unsustainable. They're short-term fixes for sure. We usually can't stay on these for life. So the emotional eating. what I'm going to teach next is a very simple skill, but it's very powerful. It's a powerful ally to help us get more into a mindful eating state and really start to address the emotional overeating that we might be doing in our life. And this can become a daily habit, and this can be life-changing. I work on this a lot with my clients. So if you're overweight, if you're an emotional eater and you think, okay, what can I do about this? Here's something you can start to practice. I call it PACE. Stands for pause, assess, choose, and execute. Again, very simple, but it can be life-changing for people with their relationship with food. Okay, so let's say you've walked into the kitchen, you're pulling out stuff to make a turkey sandwich. Whenever you're about to eat, if you want to lose weight, if you think you emotionally eat, practice PACE, pause, just stop. Get to your higher brain, your prefrontal cortex, get away from that primal brain, get intentional and start to take charge. Just pause and then ask, am I hungry? I know this is simple, but this is a powerful tool. Am I hungry? Very often we're on automatic pilot, making the sandwich or getting the ice cream, whatever it is, not even hungry. We're doing it for other reasons. So the answer is going to be yes or no. You're then going to choose one of three actions, and I'll show you that on the next slide, but you're going to make a choice about what to do. And then E, execute. Execute your choice. You'd be surprised maybe at how much I have to work on that with my clients, because we have to learn to be decision makers and honor our choice. And somebody said, I'm forgetting your name right now. You're coaching, yoga. You said something about it's not just the doing, it's the being. We're, in health coaching, we're trying to help people, yes, learn what to do, how to eat, etc. But the being skills, becoming someone who honors your decision and honors your choice. And you can literally practice that as a skill. You can learn to make decisions and honor your choices. And we do a lot of this work in coaching. But anyway, this is PACE. Pause, assess, choose, execute. You are becoming intentional. You are in charge. You are the CEO of you. You are the CEO of what you eat, your health, your body, your weight. To a large degree, we can't control every single thing, but we need to take control where we can. Okay, so that's the process. Now, here's your three choices. If you're hungry, yay, you get to eat, right? Food's a great thing. I think we should eat 4 or 5 times a day, personally. I think most people should. 3 meals, 1 snack, maybe 2. But anyway, if you're hungry, eat. That's a good thing. If you're not hungry, you've got 2 choices you can make. If you're not sure what's going on, if you're not sure if it's some deep emotional reason that took you to make this sandwich, take a 15-minute extension. Shut the refrigerator. You've put the food away. Create some space, change your focus, go do something different. These pictures down here represent the 3 choices. All right, so if you were hungry, yes, you eat, there's a bowl of food. Not hungry, you can try a 15-minute extension. This lady just said, you know what, I'm not really hungry. I'm going to go make that phone call. I'm going to finish a couple emails. Sometimes just giving yourself 15 minutes is all you need to figure out if you're hungry or not. You can always go back and make the sandwich 15 minutes later if you're feeling hungry. Now, the third thing is the holy grail right here. This is where we start to heal emotional eating. If you weren't hungry, it's even better to figure out what was driving you to the refrigerator, right? Meet the real need. Possibly this woman was lonely. She opened the refrigerator looking for a friend. But she shut the refrigerator because she wasn't hungry. And then she dug deep and she's like, okay, I haven't called my best friend back in 3 days. It's making me anxious. I need to talk with her. She sets up a coffee date. Now, this seems simple in a webinar, but as we all know, this takes work. There's layers of this. This takes some commitment. This takes some time. to set up a coffee date, but honestly, that time with her best friend might be the reason she's been overeating for a few days or needing to spend time with her best friend. So loneliness can be a huge driver to overeating and emotional eating. So these are just the 3 choices again. If you're hungry, eat. Acknowledge your hunger. Make a healthy choice that satisfies and energizes you. If you're not hungry, try the 15-minute extension. Do something else. Put some space between you and the food so your higher brain, your prefrontal cortex can start to think about eating or not eating. Get in touch with your body a little bit. And the third thing, meet the real need. Identify your feeling, and that takes some work. Boredom is a huge driver for overeating. Aimlessness is a huge driver for overeating. That's why I work with women on their values. Are they living their values? Are they learning things? Are they living in the way they want to live? Are they living joyfully? Sometimes boredom is causing overeating and aimlessness. I would also say fatigue. It's really easy to grab food when we're tired because the body is looking for energy and the primal brain is telling us to eat for energy, but very often we don't need to eat. We might need to rest. I think rest is often what we need, actually. Okay. I'm going to skip that one. Here's a summary. I have no idea what time it is. Let me just summarize some of this for you. So research does not support long-term success with strict dieting. And that's because dieting is deprivation-based, expects us to be robotic and have willpower as the main skill. They're unrealistic, not sustainable, harm our metabolism, and they mess up our hunger hormones. That's a lot of it right there. The perfect storm of food abundance, processed food, large servings, along with the primal brain's desire to eat calorically dense foods, means we have to take this stuff seriously. In our culture with all this food around us, we have to learn how to eat and learn skills around eating if we want to feel our best and lose weight. Emotional and habitual overeating, I truly believe, is the main cause for weight gain for most people. Practicing pace, pause, assess, choose, and execute with that 15-minute extension can put you in a mindful moment and just separate you from the food for a little bit. And then practicing pace and really figuring out what emotions were driving you to eating and addressing those needs is the holy grail. That's where when we're really starting to heal emotional eating issues. And thank you. I don't know what time it is exactly. I'm looking over here. Again, Calm and Confident Weight Loss is my 12-week coaching program. It's once a week, 12 weeks, and then often I keep coaching with people after that. I do free 30-minute introductory calls. And again, many of you may not need this at all, but certainly referrals are a beautiful thing. If you can think of a family member or a friend who might need this, and you think my style, my approach, my beliefs would work with that person, I would love the referral. That'd be wonderful. And then I put in the chat, I have an 8 mindful tips for weight loss, and I put that link at the top of the chat if you want that. It is there for you. So okay. I will stop sharing. There.
I'm going to stop the recording just a minute.
That was great, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like I was talking really fast, but
no, you were perfect. We have 5 minutes left to do announcements or whatever people might want to.
Yeah, absolutely.